Hello everybody, Sean here with another video on fractions, this time multiplying and dividing mixed numbers. This is again a bit of a fiddly topic. These last couple we've been looking at with mixed numbers, adding and subtracting we were doing before, and multiplying and dividing we're doing now, are a little bit fiddly. We'll look at a couple of examples and see if you're happy with multiplying, and then I'll go on to some dividing for part two. Okay, so this one's mainly looking at multiplying. Look at a few examples. I'll do one up here. 1 2/3 multiplied by 1/2. So you've got one normal fraction, you've got one mixed number. Okay, before I start doing anything on this, I want to make this into a top-heavy fraction or an improper fraction first. Okay, so hopefully the more we do this, the more practice we get, the easier hopefully this becomes. But we'll look at this question and see if we can suss it out. Okay, I've got to do big number 1 times the bottom number 3 and add my 2. 1 times 3 plus 2. So let's write that out. 1 times 3 plus 2. My bottom number stays the same, it's 3. And I'm multiplying that by 1/2. I might as well write that out over there. Okay, 1 times 3 is going to give me 3. Plus 2 is going to give me 5. So I'm going to end up with 5 over 3 on this side. Yeah. 1 times 3 is 3, plus 2 is 5. 5 over 3. I'm multiplying that by 1/2. Don't forget, when I'm multiplying, it's the easiest one to do. I just multiply my two top numbers together and multiply my two bottom numbers together. 5 times 1 is going to give me 5. 3 times 2 is going to give me 6. That is my answer. Yeah, that's my answer, 5 over 6. Okay. Now, if I rub this off and I look at another example, we'll go for it. Let's look at two mixed numbers this time. So I've got 2 and 2/5. I'm multiplying that by 1 and 1/3. Okay, so this time I've got two mixed numbers to make into improper fractions. Same technique though. Big number times the bottom number, add the top. 2 times 5, add 2, that's going to give me 12. I'll write it out. 2 times 5 plus 2, all over my bottom number that stays the same. 2 times 5 is going to give me 10, plus 2 is going to give me 12. 12 over 5 is what I've got on this side. And I'm multiplying this by 1 and 1/3 to make that into a mixed number. So make that into a top-heavy fraction. 1 times 3, big number times the bottom number, add the top. 1 times 3, add 1, all over 3, my bottom number staying the same. 1 times 3 is 3, plus 1 is 4. I end up with 4 over 3. Okay, so what have I got left to look at here? Well, I can multiply this out. I can just do that over here. I can do 12 times 4, which will give me 48 over, and 5 times 3 is going to give me 15. I can do that way. That'll end up being, if I wanted to make that back into a top-heavy fraction again, or sorry, not a top-heavy fraction, a mixed number again. 15 will go into 48 if I count up in 15s. 15, 30, 45, 60. Well, 60 is too big, so it looks like 15 goes into 48 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Big 3. And I've got 3 left over, 3 over 15. And if you look at these two here, I can actually cancel this down further, 3 over 15, because both of these numbers are in the 3 times table. I can divide that by 3 and I can divide that by 3 to end up with 3 and 1/5. Quick way of doing that. I've got the answer over here now, 3 over 15. But a little trick you can look at, if you look here, if you remember this in lessons, I've got a 12 and a 3 diagonally opposite each other. What I can do to make this easier, this particular question, I can, both of these numbers, 12 and 3, are both in the 3 times table. 3 goes into 3 once, and 3 goes into 12 4 times. That suddenly becomes a slightly easier sum to do, rather than doing 12 times 4 and 5 times 3. I can just look at it like this. I can do 4 times 4 and 5 times 1. If I look at that, this is going to give me the same answer as I got up here, exactly the same. I'm just doing it because I'm going to end up with this answer straight away. 4 times 4 is 16, 5 times 1 is 5, and if I think about 16 over 5, 5 goes into 16 3 times, with 1 left over, I end up with 3 1/5. So all it does by doing this cancellation bit on this diagonal cancellation bit, it knocks out that step. Yeah, you haven't got to bother cancelling it down and making it into a smaller fraction. It just makes it easier to do. If you spot it, brilliant. If you don't worry about it. You still end up with the same answer. One last one to look at really quickly. I'll just flip over here. Sometimes you might get something that looks like this and does look a bit weird. You might end up with 2 2/3, and you might be multiplying by just a big number on its own like that, like 4. And you might think, oh, blooming hell, how do I do that? How does that work? Well, again, just remember what 4 is. 4 is basically 4 whole ones. So I can make that into something that looks like that, 4 over 1. And if I look at this number over this side, I'm doing the same thing I've done before. Big number times this bottom number, add the top. 2 times 3, add 2, all over 3. Obviously multiplying these two together. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 2 is 8. 8 over 3. I'm multiplying that by 4 over 1. Okay, so if you've got a number here, a big number with nothing, not looking like a fraction, make it into a fraction. Make it into a top-heavy fraction over 1. Doesn't matter what that number is, you can do this, okay? Put it over 1, and it just becomes a normal fraction question. Then you can do it like you've done before, yeah? 8 times 4 over 3 times 1. 8 times 4 is going to give me 32. 3 times 1 is going to give me 3. Now, 3 doesn't... If I want to make that into a mixed number again, 3 doesn't exactly go into 32, but I know 3 goes into 30 10 times, and I know there'll be 2 left over. My bottom number is going to stay the same. So that answer to this question, 2 2/3 times 4, would give me 10 2/3. That would be my final answer. Bit fiddly these, but like I say, the more you practice, the easier they become.